Hello and welcome to the 41st scripture reading session live. And we're continuing on with the book of Genesis. And we're going to be in chapter 40. So I'm going to go over to the website. And we are on the King James Bible online.org, Book of Genesis, chapter 40. Verse 1, And it came to pass after these things that the butler of the king of Egypt and his baker had offended their lord, the king of Egypt. And the Pharaoh was wroth against two of his officers, against the chief of the butlers, and against the chief of the bakers. And he put them in ward in the house of the captain of the guard, into the prison, the place where Joseph was bound. And the captain of the guard charged Joseph with them, and he served them, and they continued a season in ward. And they dreamt a dream, both of them, each man his dream in one night, each man according to the interpretation of his dream, the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt, which were bound in the prison. And Joseph came in unto them in the morning, and looked upon them, and behold, they were sad. And he asked the Pharaoh's officers that were with him in the ward of his Lord's house, saying, Wherefore look ye so sadly today? And they said unto him, We have dreamed a dream, and there is no interpretation, no interpreter of it. And Joseph said unto them, Do not interpretations belong to the Lord? Tell me them, I pray you. And the chief butler told his dream to Joseph, and said to him, In my dream, behold, a vine was before me, and in the vine there were 3 branches, and it was through it budded, and her blossoms shot forth, and the clusters thereof brought forth ripe grapes. And the Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into the Pharaoh's cup, and I gave the cup into the Pharaoh's hand. Joseph said unto him, This is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall the Pharaoh lift up thy head, and restore thee unto thy place, and thou shalt deliver Pharaoh's cup into his hand, after the former manner when thou wast his butler. But think on me when I shall be well with thee, and show kindness, I pray thee, unto me, and make mention of me unto the Pharaoh, to bring me out of this house. And indeed I was stolen away out of the land of the Hebrews. Here also have I done nothing that they should put me in the dungeon. When the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said unto Joseph, I also was in my dream, and behold, I had 3 white baskets on my head. And in the uppermost basket there was of all manner of baked meats for Pharaoh, and the birds did eat them out of the basket upon my head. And Joseph answered him and said, This is the interpretation thereof. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall the Pharaoh lift up thy head from off thee, and shall hang thee on a tree, and the birds shall eat thy flesh from off thee. And it came to pass the 3 days, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast unto all his servants, and he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants. And he restored the chief butler unto his butlership again, and he gave the cup into the Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker, as Joseph had interpreted to them. Yet did not the chief butler remember Joseph, but forgot him. Okie dokie. So this was a rather different little chapter. So again, we'll just go back to the actual text. Normally in the first verse it identifies who it is, but this is different. This is an exception. It doesn't identify Joseph, so we have to assume it was Joseph it was referring to here. And in this one, the Pharaoh's butler, chief butler, and chief baker get into trouble with the Pharaoh. So the Pharaoh puts them in prison. And as it turns out, it's the same prison where Joseph is, and Joseph is in charge to look after them. So they both have a dream, and so Joseph interprets the dream. So the dream of the butler is kind of interesting. He has 3 vines, 3 branches, and they bud forth, produce grapes, blah, blah, blah. And Joseph interprets that, saying that in 3 days that he's going to get his job back and he'll be pouring the wine for the Pharaoh. Now, he said to them, he says, look, I have been stolen away from my land and put into this situation, put in this dungeon unjustly. So please mention this to the Pharaoh so that perhaps I can get out. So the baker also had a dream, and Joseph interpreted his dream, but it wasn't so great for the baker. So for the butler, he gets his job back. For the baker, he gets hung. So quite an interesting little chapter. I think it is kind of setting Joseph up to be almost an interpreter of dreams or whatever. So we'll find out in chapter 41 if there's more to hear about Joseph. Very interesting little story. So you have a great day, and hopefully tomorrow we'll continue with chapter 41.